Wave if you can hear me. Okay, that's good enough. Can I just say, Brisbane, give yourselves a big round of applause. This started about 3 months ago with me by myself, sitting on my phone in my room. And look at it now. Unbelievable. People power at work. It's my great honour to have Jagera traditional owner here to do Welcome to Country. His name is Kevin Vivitz. And if he could please come up now and conduct that for us. Thank you, Kevin.
I'd like to thank you for coming here today. This is very important, and continuing rolling protests would be a way to go. But I'd like to welcome you on behalf of my grandfather's mother's people, the Waka Waka, and thank you for coming.
Now, I think we've got the volume tested. That's good. My name is Matthew Donovan, and I'm proud to be the lead organiser of Brisbane March in March. I am a proud member of the Labor Party. But I'll tell you what I also am. I'm a proud Australian. An Australian who believes in a social safety net and a fair go. A compassionate and modern equal society that brings us together and doesn't divide us. This protest isn't about party politics. As much as the critics want to say, as much as they want to believe it, it's not true. We have members and supporters of many and varied parties here, brought together by their absolute distaste for the tacky divide and conquer, fear-invoking slash and burn Abbott agenda. This is a genuine grassroots movement with people from across the political spectrum and various levels of political involvement. You all come from various backgrounds and are marching for various reasons. But what is clear is we are all united in our disapproval of the Abbott agenda of yesteryear. An agenda that I reject the way Tony Abbott is doing his job. It seems to me he takes far too much pleasure playing politics in riling up and seeking revenge against political enemies. This is university politics. Politics this man obviously never graduated from. The kind of games he used to play at Sydney Uni and still amuse and entertain him. He is yesterday's man with no real vision, and it's sad he leads today's Australia. I reject him not giving his caucus a free vote on marriage equality. I reject his deceptions and lies of the last 6 months. I reject his smug indifference to the least well-off, while big business and the most well-off are pandered to. I reject his numerous, transparent and politically motivated, self-interested appointments from his side of politics, big business and vested interests. I reject his approach to climate change. I'm embarrassed that instead of leading in this area, we are now dragging the chain. I reject the confected budget crisis and rush to surplus at the expense of the well-off. I most of all reject his approach to asylum seekers. And I reject Scott Morrison as Immigration Minister, and I believe he should be sacked. They aren't illegal, Mr. Morrison. No matter how many times you parrot that lie, we will keep reminding you. Yes! Many hearts are heavy about those most in need, and the fact that they are being used as political footballs. All sides of politics need to implement compassionate approaches that strike the right balance between saving lives and treating people like human beings. There are many other issues that I'm concerned about, but we'd be here all day. These are the reasons why I'm marching. But make no mistake, I'm no fan of Tony's good friend and ally, our dear leader, Campbell Newman. But I think we'll save that up for another day. But I know a few people want to talk about Campbell Newman here, and they have a perfect right to do so. I know many of you protesters are here, in fact, to protest the arrogant, despotic, far-right, authoritarian, self-serving woolly boy government and the police state he has created, along with the pleasant egomaniac and ever so in touch man of the people, Attorney General Jared Blakey. I should say Vlad the Conveyancer, as he has become to be known. Queenslanders will get this say on this shockingly arrogant state government sooner than you all think.
Let's hope so.
In closing, thank you for coming. It's time to send Abbott the clearest possible message and let the international community know. Not in our name!
Not in our name!
The question is, will you hear us, Tony? I say to you, Mr. Abbott, this isn't the 1950s. This is 2014, and you better learn to listen, because we will keep fighting until you hear our voices and deliver us a modern Australia we can be proud of. It's time you brought us together instead of divisively playing us off against each other and using fear and prejudice to get your way. We've had enough of that for a lifetime from you, Mr. Abbott. We are better than this, and you are better than this. Thank you.
To the future of many people, working class people in particular, who want to try and go to university. But before I go into the details of exactly what these disgusting cuts are, I think there's a little bit of a funny story. People might have saw it yesterday in the news. There are 14-year-old high school students that showed up Tony Abbott. I thought that was a pretty inspiring example of how students can play a pretty good role in our society in keeping those sort of bastards accountable. They just asked the honest questions. All they asked of him was, can you tell us why you're against gay marriage, Mr. Abbott? Oh God, get a boys question quickly. Oh, wait a second, refugees, Mr. Abbott? Nothing to say either. Well, if only our journalists were as brave as those 14-year-olds. Yeah, put that on the news. But I think that this is a pretty good indication, hopefully, for the future of the fight back that students are waging against these cuts all over the country. So $2.3 billion in cuts are on their way to universities all over the country. And in typical Abbott style, guess who he's cutting? He's not saying, oh, well, we need to make, maybe we need to try and make it more accessible for the poor. He's actually taking money directly out of the startup scholarship that students on welfare can receive. He's going to force students on welfare on $1,000 scholarships to repay that loan, to repay it as a loan. That means that the poorest students that get to university, if you're lucky enough to have scraped through your primary, your secondary education in state schools and to qualify for student welfare, well, you're going to have extra debt. $2,000 extra debt a year. Absolutely despicable. That's right, 35 grand isn't enough according to Tony Abbott. You need to get more from students. It's really shameful on full fee-paying students, and less can they focus on what students want to learn, or allowing more accessibility for students who are not the cream of the crop and Tony Abbott's best friends. So, all of that is to say, this is outrageous, this is disgusting, but this rally is a really inspiring turnout. I think this is absolutely amazing. Should give everyone heart that we can fight back against this government. And on March, and this is called March in March. Well, I want to tell you about another March in March. On March 26th, the National Day of Action against the education cuts will take place in Brisbane, in this very spot, at 2 o'clock on the Wednesday, March 26th. And everyone who supports higher education, student or not, I urge you to come along, take a stand against these disgusting cuts that discriminate against the poor, and fight back against this government. Students have done it before, we'll do it again.
Can I just say to the people at the back, we know you...
On full fee-paying students, and less can they focus on what students want to learn, or allowing more accessibility for students who are not the cream of the crop and Tony Abbott's best friends. So, all of that is to say, this is outrageous, this is disgusting, but this rally is a really inspiring turnout. I think this is absolutely amazing. Should give everyone heart that we can fight back against this government. And on March, and this is called March in March. Well, I want to tell you about another March in March. On March 26th, the National Day of Action against the education cuts will take place in Brisbane, in this very spot, at 2 o'clock on the Wednesday, March 26th. And everyone who supports higher education, student or not, I urge you to come along, take a stand against these disgusting cuts that discriminate against the poor, and fight back against this government. Students have done it before, we'll do it again.
Can I just say to the people at the back, we know you...
You value them for their amazing biodiversity, for the millions of animals that live amongst them. You value them for the food they provide for millions of people the world over. You value them for the protection they give coastlines. If we think of the Great Barrier Reef, we put value in $6 billion into our economy each year. 63,000 jobs. And that almost indescribable joy you get when you visit somewhere like the Great Barrier Reef. But our governments are doing a bad job of protecting the Great Barrier Reef.
They're not protecting.
UNESCO is currently deciding whether or not to declare the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Area in danger. This will be a terrible result for us. The results of the long-term monitoring program show that we've lost 50% coral cover in the last 27 years on the Great Barrier Reef. If this is world's best practice management, it's not working and we need to reconsider it. Reefs are really vulnerable to climate change in many ways, but our governments are pretending that climate change doesn't exist. But it does. And climate change will continue to bring high temperatures to the reef, causing bleaching events. In 1998, we lost 16% of the world's corals in one bleaching event. We'll get increasing intensity of storm events causing breakage. We'll get sea level rise and we'll get ocean acidification, which makes it harder for corals to produce calcium carbonate, the building block of the reefs. Just because our politicians don't believe in these changes, it doesn't mean they're going to go away. Climate change effects on reefs are going to stay and they're going to get worse and worse. So what can we do? If we want to save the Great Barrier Reef, we must reduce emissions dramatically and we must do it now. We must find politicians who are willing to do that. We need to keep the resilience of the reef as high as we can. What that means is we need to keep the conditions around the reef as good as possible. We need to improve water quality. We need to avoid overfishing. We need to keep maintaining protected areas. We do not want politicians who are going to industrialise the Great Barrier Reef coastline. We do not. We don't want huge port developments that are going to dump millions of tonnes of dredge spoil in the water. We don't want politicians who are going to open the Galilee Basin to coal mines, resulting in the emissions equal to the 7th largest emitting country in the world. We do not want that. What we want are politicians who can fix the very broken environmental approvals process we have in this country. Developments like Abbott Point Port Development should never be approved. The science is clear. The science is telling us it should not go ahead. We want scientists who don't just listen, we want politicians who don't just listen to economics. We want politicians who listen to the science. We want politicians who say no to outdated fossil fuel technology. To embrace renewables. To really prioritise the environment and understand the services it provides to all of us. But politicians will not change what they're doing unless they won't be elected unless they do.
Power to the people!
What this means is that we need to tell them, we need to convince them. Not the bloke up the street, not the woman next door, it's us, all of us. If we want to save the Great Barrier Reef, all of us, every single one of you needs to tell those politicians. We need to tell them until their phone lines jam with overuse. We need to tell them until their inboxes are full. We need to tell them until their letterboxes are overflowing. And then we need to tell them again. Each other. That's what we're all about. Now, for those of us here in this crowd who remember the Bjelke-Petersen days, we remember, all of us remember, that we couldn't have had this march, we couldn't have had this during that time. But we're going back to those days because Campbell Newman is in power. Shame on Newman, shame. Who would have thought that down the road there in George Street that we have them in power where they are taking away our rights every single day of the week. Shame! And who would have thought that they're getting away with blue murder? They are so arrogant, they are so out of control that Campbell Newman is Bjelke-Petersen in a new form. Shame! Can I ask each and every one of you to maintain the rage against Abbott and against Newman? And that's because we care. We all care. We care about the asylum seekers, we care about the environment, and we care that our trade unions have a voice in our community looking after each and every one of us. Just in conclusion, I never ever thought that I'd see the day when Medicare is under threat. Never. And I never thought that we'd see the day where our kids are being taught in classes with up to 35 kids per class. I thought that had gone. So what I'm asking everyone here to do is to stand firm, stand united, because together we will get rid of them. Thank you.